Hi, everyone. Hello. Hope you can all hear us very clearly and easily. Um, First of all, welcome. My name is Katusia Benlokil, and I am the Vice President of Communication at Tehtris. Let me begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being here with us tonight or this morning, depending on where you're turning in from. And a special thanks to our guest. Let me first share my screen, which you will see in a minute. Um, can you see my screen? I guess,
Yep.
yes. Good. So thank you and welcome to first straight the record of what are the MITRE attacks and why those results matter, and the value of defense strategies over rankings. We will be with our two experts tonight. So thank you very much, Alexia, known as Lex Crumpton. You are the principal cybersecurity engineer, SOC and Blue Team for the MITRE Corporation. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Could you just quickly tell us exactly your role at MITRE?
Yes. So, as Kat mentioned, I'm the principal cybersecurity engineer, where I spend majority of my time being the defensive lead for MITRE ATT&CK, which is kind of like what we assess the vendor tools on based off of detections, mitigations, and then also the adversary techniques, which is what everybody knows them to be. And then for attack evaluations, which is a separate project, I am the detection lead, and I'm the one who assesses the red team malware tools before it gets to the evaluation week and construct the detection criteria, which you guys see on the website, or what we're calling pivot points. And I also was the one who constructed the false positive noise.
Great, thank you. And we are joined also with Megs from the Tetris part. You are the Chief Customer Experience Officer, and you just recently joined Tetris. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for setting this up, Kate. And I'm super excited to be here with all of y'all and excited to partner with Lex and providing you some great insights and fantastic conversations. So very excited. My role, as Kat introduced me, I'm the Chief Customer Experience Officer at Tetris. I also oversee the Tetris Services Organization. And quite frankly, I'm super excited to be here to add tremendous value and relevance to our customers and partners, not just through the experience that they get in engaging with us, but also through the product and the technology that keeps their businesses and the data safe and secure around the clock. So thank you so much for having us.
Great. The format today is a little bit different. It will be a debate and a discussion of what might attack evaluations are and how we can understand and read the results. And it will be 30 minutes altogether, and then 15 minutes of Q&A. So you have in the chat next to you, you can enter all your questions, even starting by now, and we will address them as much as possible with the time that we have to answer them with our experts today. So thanks again, Megs and Lex, for being with us, because we organized this webinar in the wake of last week, which sparked a wave of claims and unfortunately, a fair share of misleading comparisons and false ranking. And just, we are not going to stay long on this, but there's been a lot of claims that distort the evaluation's purpose and harm its credibility as well. Some claims have been like performing 100% scores. What does that mean, scoring 100% score? Um, we also saw some vendors comparing themselves with other vendors, but it's not the purpose of the evaluations. And some also compare themselves to companies that did not participate in the evaluation. So this purpose of this webinar is to set up to provide a clear understanding of what the evaluation is, and exactly what happened during this 2024 evaluations as well. So just a few words as well on regarding the configuration changes, which happens on day 1, day 2, day 3. So a lot of people sometimes as a feedback don't really clearly understand why we have day 2, day 3, day 4. This will give us a chance as well to cover this with you guys, and also understanding what is assigned by MITRE for sub steps that aren't relevant or missed. So that's also one thing that we are going to understand, and the metrics, as some metrics like best signal to noise ratio happened. So let's start with first who participated in the MITRE ATT&CK Evaluation 2024. So you can see here, you have a clear view of the participants. There were 19. Some started and some dropped out, and they have probably their own story. This is the whole purpose of this webinar, is that there is no winner at MITRE, and there is no one that passed MITRE. So my first question to both of you, Lex and Megs, is what is MITRE ATT&CK evaluations? Because if there is no winner and nobody passed it, what is it exactly? And why should one participate in it?
Yeah, awesome. So MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations is a place where we can assess cybersecurity solution tools against the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Our objective is to provide an independent assessment of those capabilities from those vendors' tools, and it's our mission to improve the organization's performance against known adversary behaviors through empowering the end users, providing transparency, and fostering continual improvement, right? So ultimately, looking at the adversaries that we are emulating, looking at their TTPs or their behaviors, executing them, and then seeing how cybersecurity tools can either detect or protect against it, and then ultimately helping them grow and improve that tool so that it is useful back to the end users or the customers who are ultimately utilizing these tools.
Okay.
Megs? I just want to add to that, right? As Lex said, I think this is very powerful. For us at Tehtris, our mission is to anticipate and protect, empower, and inspire trust by delivering seamless 24/7 cybersecurity solutions through our products. It's just not a technical challenge, but a commitment in safeguarding people, businesses, and the data, and the critical infrastructure, guided by a philosophy of anticipation, detection, and remediation. We continuously adapt to an ever-changing landscape, a threat landscape that we also live in every day in a highly digitized environment. Frameworks like MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations shapes our defense strategies by testing a technology's ability, quite frankly, to anticipate, detect, as well as mitigate advanced attacks. That's why these evaluations push us from an innovation perspective, ensuring we remain focused, effective in a rapidly changing environment. And quite frankly, to participate in this year's MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations, we, Tehtris, had to adjust our configuration by downgrading our XDR AI's Windows configuration, right? Mm-hmm. And during the testing, the red team couldn't initiate the attacks to begin with, right? Or the simulations, because of our initial defense mechanisms, which was blocked. So in order for us to move forward, we had to allow the remote RDP access for privileged account on an exposed Windows domain controller to be processed with the evaluation process. And I just want to add, last but not the least, as we know, cybersecurity is not static. It's changing, and it's a relentless pursuit of innovation and protection. And I think the participation in such evaluations like MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations demonstrates a strong commitment to continuously innovate our products and our services. And like you showed, Kat, out of 31 companies, only 19 were able to complete the rigorous process. Yes, it was absolutely rigorous based on the 12 tactics, and each tactic had different number of activities in them. So it was absolutely exhaustive. But I think it was incredible for us to be part of it, because by evaluating entry point configurations, we validated our ability to protect customers with confidence, aligning with MITRE's mission, Lex, please correct me if I'm wrong, to advance cybersecurity maturity in an industry that's ever changing, and we know threats are getting sophisticated every day.
Yep, agreed.
I think also one of the let's say some pieces of understanding for everyone. Can you explain? Because even myself, I was wondering at first when I approached the framework of the evaluations is about the 12 tactics. Lex, could you explain us exactly what the 12 tactics means? And there was also, and it's not here on the slide, but a lot of claims were about the steps called 16 steps. Could you just give us a little bit of clarification here?
Yeah, so this screenshot that you see on the screen is from the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is one of the projects of MITRE. And the MITRE ATT&CK framework is a globally recognized framework that showcases or catalogs adversaries' behaviors based off of real-world observations, essentially what has been seen in the live, real time through analysts and other people, defenders, red teamers, and the such, and also has been seen in public CTI reporting that has contributed back to that project. And so it's a lot of things of being community driven. Like we thrive off of people contributing to us to put into this framework. We are a common language that everybody can understand. And it is essentially open to the public for everybody to utilize and to look at and like take this information and take back to your organization or to your friends, to your families, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
This
Yeah, okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
just to go over the tactics and techniques, I think that was one of your questions,
Yeah.
is in this framework, this is a part of the enterprise framework where the tactics at the top explain the why of the adversary, right? Why are they doing the things that they're trying to do? If a malicious person is trying to get into your computer system or trying to hack into your computer system, and this is the initial part, that's going to lead you to initial access. The why they're trying to get into your computer system is initial access. And then the techniques that go down the actual columns are the how they're trying to achieve their why. So if you're doing initial access and they are trying to do spear phishing to try and compromise your system, that's how they're trying to do it. It's by spear phishing itself.
So the most important thing is to pass all the tactics, right?
No, it is not.
Ah,
We
okay.
neither through attack the framework or attack evaluations is there's no way to get 100% coverage, right? Because the MITRE ATT&CK framework itself is not all encompassing. We do not have all the things in there, right? This is essentially what is researched through MITRE and what's contributed back to us. So there are plenty of things that is missing from the framework. We do not claim that we're all encompassing. We do not claim that you should map to every single technique itself in the attack framework. And then for attack evaluations, we ultimately, just like you had the slide from before, we do not do a ranking system. We do not say that you should have 100% coverage because that is not the goal, right? We're here to help improve the tool. We're here to help grow the community within cybersecurity and to ultimately figure out what we don't know, because what we don't know is what we don't know, essentially.
Exactly.
And Kat, I just want to add to it. That's why I'm super excited for us as a company, Tehtris, to partner with Lex and team at MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations, because this goes back to the heart of the whole thing. How do we become the so-called the custodians of cybersecurity, where we are constantly fueling in use cases, different scenarios, different outcomes, and continuing to raise the bar on cybersecurity maturity overall that everybody can harness and be really focused on protecting what really matters to the business.
Yeah. And I just wanted to give you, because we did publish on our social media, the relevance on
Yep.
the 12
Right.
meter attack tactics. Maybe Megs, you can explain, knowing that it's our own approach, obviously, and that's why, just to give clarity of this statement from us. And maybe Lex, you can bounce back as well afterwards.
Yeah, like I said, right, in this year's MITRE ATT&CK evaluations, I mean, we had to adjust our configurations by downgrading our XDR AI's Windows configuration protection, because that was the entry point, right, to get started in terms of trying this
Make it clear.
evaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So during testing, the red team, they tried to simulate the attack, but they couldn't succeed because of this configuration in place. So when you talk about day one, guess what? Protected. And hackers, they don't keep coming back to you if the entry door is already closed. So you have to constantly keep thinking innovatively and creatively. How do you improve your code, your algorithms to continue to, have the best protection out there, as Lex mentioned, right? So these 12 parameters helps us the why and then the how to really simulate and provide the effectiveness, how best we are set up to protect the assets, the people and the businesses overall. And it's constantly evolving, by the way, right? Because threats are getting sophisticated. Hackers are getting even more savvy with how they can get an entry into your back door. Forget back doors, even front doors, they're trying to figure out. So we are constantly staying ahead of it. And with our cyber intelligence and the threat intel, we are constantly innovating our technology as well. And evaluations like MITRE ATT&CK evaluations really help us to constantly stay ahead of the game and really push the bar when it comes to standards and redefining the standards as we learn more and mature in the process.
Okay. Lex, you want to say something, or we can just move to the next one?
Something to note about attack evaluations is our core concept is emulating the adversary, right? Through what we see through public CTI reporting. And so there are some times where we do not have all of the information based off of that CTI reporting. We don't emulate all of the steps or all of the behaviors of the adversary. And it's a full emulation plan for the concept of how we do evaluations. But there are at times where we do not give all of the behaviors of the adversary itself. So even though in this instance, we may have gone across 12 of the MITRE tactics, it's not all encompassing. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that there can be behaviors missing from the emulation plan. We do publish those emulation plans so that people can look and see exactly what do we emulate from the adversary.
Perfect. So from you, Lex, and but also Megs, what have been the most surprising insights that you've observed during this year's evaluation? Knowing, and I just put it here, the comparison between the tool evaluation in 2023 and the focused one this year, which was more about the post-compromission scenario. So here is just very quickly, and you can even explain maybe the different scenarios that have been used for this year evaluation.
Yeah. So this year we did some super neat things where we chose 3 different adversaries to emulate this year. So we had DPRK, we had CLOP, and we had Lockbit. DPRK is strictly macOS focused, which is the first time for us ever in an attack evaluation. So that was a super niche thing that we were able to do. And then CLOP and Lockbit are ransomware focused on both Windows and Linux, which was something we typically do for every single round of evaluations. Compared to 2023, which is just the Turler round, that was the only adversary that we did for 2023. So it's the 1 versus the 3 that we did this time. The also neat thing that we were able to do this time is introduce a false positive noise or user activity, benign user activity, so that we can see how do the vendors' security solution tools interact when they have a noise environment to see if they can actually tell the difference between adversary activity and normal user activity or benign user activity. Like I said in the beginning, I had a hand in creating those false positive tests. And so being able to see the results of how the vendors were able to either detect the false positive noises or not detect it and show like, hey, this is actually not something that's malicious or related to the adversary emulation plan. I think that was super unique and cool to be able to see.
Okay, great. And Megs, what have been the insights that you have also observed as on the vendor side?
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating, right? That's why every time we talk about MITRE ATT&CK evaluations, I'm super pumped. I'm super excited because it's fuel for innovation, fuel for creativity. One of the most surprising insights, from this evaluation that jumped out was the critical role of anticipation in real-time detection, and that was very obvious when we went through the steps. And we saw the power of the automatic detection and neutralization of the threats during the attack's critical stages, especially when dealing with advanced and multifaceted attacks, as Lex pointed out, right? DPK, RK, and the Mac, which was Mac for OS focused, from what you can tell on the screen. It really, brought a lot of insights on from that perspective. And this real-time response with no human intervention was a key takeaway for me. Another interesting insight was the effectiveness of our Siberia, a proprietary AI-powered by natural processing automation, or NPA. This AI minimized false positives significantly by reducing the SOC analysts' fatigue, which typically a lot of times we see that happen, and ensured that analysts could actually really focus on the most relevant alerts that required their intervention. It was a breakthrough to see how such an AI-driven automation could streamline detection and response without compromising accuracy, which is super critical. Additionally, the expanded scope of the evaluation to include Mac OS threats and broader attack scenarios across Windows, Linux, highlighted the growing importance of cross-platform resilience, which quite often when you see in many companies, many businesses, they have a hybrid range of OS across the estate. So seeing how cyber attacks are evolving and targeting multiple environments simultaneously was an eye-opener and reinforced the fact that the need for cybersecurity solutions to address such complex multi-vector threats proactively was critical in any company's core focus of design principle.
Yeah. And that's why also we put this, because it's a post-compromission scenario, and one of the philosophy at Tehtris is having this choke point strategy, which is, like you said, in anticipation, and in order to give to let the scenario to proceed, because it was really about a post-analysis of attack. Post-attack analysis, sorry, we had to enable a behavior that we would never do, and that's why we also wanted to give this opportunity here to state it here with you, Lex, on. Also for us, it's also, I mean, one of the key insights for me as well was that the evaluations are also done within a certain conditions, which is fair game. We understand that, but this is something we want to take into account, because for us, we had to, as stated here, to allow a remote RDP access, which will never be happen in the real world, basically. And that's I think one of the most key insights is to keep also in the mind is the conditions and of what philosophy one can have to let proceed the evaluation to be run.
And Kat, you actually hit the nail on the head over here, right? Because the attack simulations are done in various permutations and combinations, and you have to look at various use case scenarios in order to assess how good you are in terms of your code in able to protect, right, those scenarios from even penetrating. So I'm very excited that we went through this because we knowingly, wanted to participate in this, even though the scenario required us to take down the level 1 defense, because we wanted to make sure that, hey, where else can we continue to innovate and improve and really make sure we are bringing our solutions to the market with more value that's tried and tested and verified from the evaluations perspective on the scenarios. So that's why for me, it's very exciting to see this analysis and the outcomes. And excited to, share this time with Lex and the team.
And also some key metrics, bearing in mind of what we just said, that when we initiated the attack scenario happening, obviously on all Linux we had 100% blocking, but obviously this has put us in this situation with Windows blocking because of the Windows protection configuration to be lift up. So that's also another point for our audience here to understand our key metrics, because like you said, Alex, everyone has his own key metrics because everyone, there is no one size fits all solution. So obviously if your solution like us is a choke point one and anticipation one, and you have to remove some configuration, that's also the kind of result that you can have, but that distort the real value of the philosophy that you may have. If I speak to you under your control, obviously, Megs.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of context of how we construct the attack evaluations round, it's a lot of work that takes probably years in the making, right? And it's a lot of different phases. Ultimately, we create the victim range in-house, and we are bringing the vendor tools into our environment, which is a key piece to know. And then ultimately, which this round focused on a lot more than previous rounds, is that more post-compromise aspect, or that assume breach mentality. What happens after initial access? And this is just to assess how cybersecurity vendor tools are looking, detecting, protecting against the techniques that happen after initial access. And that's another key piece that was interesting to see, because like you said, a lot of people will just stop at initial access, right? So what happens when you pull back the curtains and look at the full scenario of what an adversary can do in an assumed breach mentality? So I think the way the tests are constructed and how we have to get to some of those after sub-steps or those after technique behaviors requires a lot of the things that vendors typically can protect against on initial access, or they have more stricter rules that will allow or not allow that activity to happen within an organization. It's very dependent on your organization and how you're constructing your configuration changes, or not just configurations, but your configurations of your organization. So it's a lot of things that you have to consider.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in France, we have some people who call us the vaccine. So that's with the choke points strategy. So you said something that is really interesting about the evaluation itself as well. It's that it's true that there's no one size fits all solution, and this your evaluation takes a lot of investment and resources. And I think, Megs, I'm going to give you the voice here, and that gives me also the great the great opportunity to introduce the next question, is why a vendor should take this evaluation, given, taking into account the whole investment that it includes.
Yeah, I think, specifically to piggyback on what Lex mentioned, right? I mean, the whole scenario is based on post-compromise, I think, which is great because for us, we would like to pressure test various points of, attack probabilities and really pressure test it, right, completely. So for me, I think, when you're trying to strike a balance between enhancing security measures and ensuring a seamless user experience, it all starts with experience being the core focus. And to me, it should be at the heart of your product design principle, right? Effective security should actually integrate seamlessly into workflows operating behind the scenes without disrupting the users and creating an easy to use interface. Automation and AI, and there's a lot of buzz on AI on this, right, are super key in reducing the noise, minimizing false positives, enabling teams to focus on what truly matters, the critical threats, so it can actually have the investigation response faster and the time to resolve quickly. And equally vital is the what I would say is the usability and intuitiveness and the simplicity of how do you drive remediation, empower users to respond swiftly and with confidence, and really making sure you're able to get to the heart of the issue quickly and resolve it. I think by aligning security with user needs, which all starts with what is the user trying to do. Again, be very specific when you talk about user, what type of user, the persona is super critical, right? And then tuning security into a productive enabler rather than a barrier, I think is a way forward from a design principle.
We're
I think
getting
this approach critically, and from my point of view, reflects a core principle that cybersecurity should empower, not impede, allowing users to work securely and efficiently just about anywhere in the world.
And because, well, I understand that we are getting closer to the Q&A session, and I want to give as much opportunity as everyone to ask their questions. But before we jump into this, very quickly, Lex, I think it's a question for you more than for Megs, but what do you think are the upcoming threats that we should, as vendors or cybersecurity solution providers, we should prioritize to address?
Yeah, so something that is upcoming or next upcoming and on the horizon, cybersecurity criminals, state-sponsored threat actors, advanced persistent threats, they are refining their strategies and increasing leverage. They're increasing their leveraging on the tactics like identity-based attacks, supply chain compromises, cloud exploitation, and exploitation of just edge devices themselves. These methods enable them to bypass traditional security defenses and gain unauthorized access into computer systems to execute their campaigns within the level of stealth and precision that makes detection more challenging, right? So my background is super in detections, and they keep me up at night all the time trying to like detect and trying to figure out countermeasures to like.
Is
Oh, I
it
think
me?
we
Oh,
have,
okay.
no, I
Yeah.
think we have a slight glitch. She might be back, but let me just use this time when she comes back, right? So that we can give her the mic. I think this is why I'm super excited between Tehtris and MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations, because our philosophies actually match. And for us, the key is anticipation. Understanding how advisories may exploit new technologies, and preparing and as you know, preparing accordingly, I think is critical, right? It's the anticipation aspect. Detection must focus on uncovering anomalies, absolutely, and be swift and precise remediation that helps us to minimize the impact. And that's why I think the resilience is super core in how you bounce back and how you stay ahead of continuously providing the protection, and transforming threats into opportunities for innovation, quite frankly. That's why I'm super excited with this body of work that we did with MITRE ATT&CK Evaluations, and we'll continue to do so because, like you said at the beginning, Kat, one size does not fit all, right? It's very unique for every business, for every person, for every user, for every persona. So we have to anticipate all those needs. And anticipation is the name of the game. And that's what I'm super excited because that's the philosophy in our company, quite frankly, and is helping us to move forward in a very thoughtful way.
Lex, you are back with us now. I mean, anything you want to add as well to complete your answer?
I didn't remember. Okay, I think I was on the point of like the adversary is targeting those weak points or those weaknesses in critical infrastructure is super on the rise, and so that's something that we should do more research in and give that information back to the community.
Okay, great. This is the time now for the Q&A session, and we actually have one question in the chat, but do continue to add as many questions as well. But one question is about I was wondering what are some of the most innovative ways you've seen organizations leverage MITRE ATT&CK to proactively hunt for threats and identify potential vulnerabilities.
Let me repeat the question so I make sure I understood it. What are some innovative ways?
Yeah, it's about what kind of innovative ways you've identified, you've seen from different organizations to proactively hunt some threats and identify potential vulnerabilities.
So some innovative ways that I've seen utilize the attack framework is definitely how you create your signatures and create your detection queries for either your EDR or your SIEM. And the rules themselves, from my detection background, is the most innovative way because we're going further from the bottom of the pyramid of pain, further from just the indicators of compromise, and moving more towards that behavioral perspective, not just single event analytics, but more of that multi-event approach, multi behavioral approach, or I think I've heard before like capability extraction, if you've ever heard that term before.
Okay. Yeah. Megs, you want to answer?
Yeah, I think besides that, what we do is also we have something called a deceptive response, honeypots, that we actually use, which is super critical. I think it's a well-known term, I guess, in with many cybersecurity experts. But this really helps us to actually figure out what are the ways in which we have possible adversaries trying to attack, right? And then we look at innovations and how do we stop that attack right from the get-go. So it's very fascinating. And then we complement that with our intelligence, cyber threat intelligence mechanism. And that we get a lot of information from places like our honeypots itself, spam bots, other avenues of resources. And we feed that into our intelligence, our AI, machine learning algorithms. And that creates a whole lot of mechanisms in terms of how we can anticipate and then detect and prevent and remediate in a more seamless way. And this is the constant innovation that the team is working on day in and day out. So again, going back, I can't stress enough on the MITRE ATT&CK evaluations because those tactics and the why and the hows is what really helps us to also be very prescriptive in how we are simulating, because that helps us to figure out where are the areas we need to double down and innovate further and continue to raise the bar in maturing the cybersecurity solutions in this landscape. So that's what we do at Tehtris, and partnering with MITRE has just helped us bring greater benefits.
It's a very good point as well. And just before I give the second question, I myself also witnessed that when we were, when there was the patch failure back in July with the blue screen from.
Oh yeah.
Which a patch failure that can happen to anyone, by the way. But in 4 hours, there has been an unknown attack, and we Tehtris detected it. I could dial pu, and I suggest everybody and I invite everybody to go on our blog and see the post-attack analysis that our threat intelligence team has done. And what was really remarkable is that in just 4 hours, it was not a threat, it was not an attack, it was a patch failure which can happen, and you don't know when it can happen. The attackers could create an unknown threat in just 4 hours. So that gives also the capacity of the attackers now to first of all get higher volumes of attacks, but also sophistication. And I think it's one of the things that is also quite interesting in terms of threats. It's the higher volume and sophistication that is happening right now. Just like using AI as from the defensive point of view, but also from the attackers as well. So I invite you to go on the blog as well if you want to have more information about that. Next question. It's after the results of the MITRE attack, did you have a clear idea on how to upgrade the protection of Tehtris? Good question. I leave you, Megs, to answer, but
Well,
yeah.
well, I could say that absolutely, right? I think every outcome of the evaluation gives food for thought. Let me put it that way. It helps us to figure out like, hey, how are we in terms of the response time, in terms of the detection time, can we do better? And the answer is obviously yes. There's no end to it, but just look at technology, how advanced it's become. And going back to what Kat was talking about earlier, if you think about threats, that's one thing, but look at the ransomware aspects. How many companies have got caught into that? And there were millions of dollars paid out in many cases to actually get the data back, right? And get away from that hold. And threats are in every possible way. You talk about infrastructure, medical, financial, banking, retail, defense, you name it. That's why cybersecurity is so core to every business. And a lot of CISOs and executives are thinking about not about performance, but about protection. Goes back again, anticipation. And I think that is why for us, every time we look at these results, we find areas on how we can continue to improve on different configurations, different operating systems. And these insights have given us a lot of good insights, but also I think a lot of areas where we can double down and say, hey, we've done some amazing things over here. But I feel like there's never an end to saying, oh, we got it all right, right? And this is it. That's it. Innovation happens every day because of the information and the learning and the data we get based on different use cases. It just keeps us continuously burning the midnight oil, as I say, to spark the innovation and produce greater code and higher capabilities in our products and solutions.
Now, that brings me to a question that I have, and since the beginning of the results and the whole evaluation, it's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I mean, I have a question for you, Lex. I mean, if hackers don't give you or offer you chances, why do the evaluation should just be only on the day 1? Why should we give retry? That's my question actually, that I would like to understand.
Yeah. So that goes back to our whole objective or our whole mission to improve an organization's tool, right? So we just don't want to test you on the emulation plans and say, yep, we're washing our hands, that's it, we're done. No, our goal is to help improve those tools. And so the third day, which I'll go back and explain the whole entire week, but the third day itself is configuration change day. So you've seen the plans, you've seen the scenarios that we run in day 1 and day 2. And then now you actually know what behaviors are in the emulation plan, and we're giving the vendors an opportunity to say, hey, I saw this behavior. I think I know what type of detection logic I can invite into my tool or add to my tool so that we can retry the emulation plan again and see if this rule or this signature now detects that behavior. And that is the whole entire case or the whole entire point of configuration change day, to include that one of our rules at Attack Evaluations is if you are changing things in your tool and we're assessing it, that you're producing that back to your consumers and a product that is readily available to them once you get to the publication stage, so that now they have that enhancement as well as you guys putting in the work, or all of us actually, both sides putting in the work to figure out how can we improve the tools for the community.
And I just
Okay.
want to add to that, Kat. I think, and Lex, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this evaluation did not focus on telemetry, correct?
Correct.
And I think that should be another area that we would love to, partner with you and deep dive, because telemetry to me is the holy grail, end of the day. Because with telemetry, that's so powerful with data, you can actually really, to your point, Lex, you can start to improve or optimize the configurations based on different detection points, based on user behavioral signatures, right? Or the adversaries' behavioral signatures. And this is where we really going back to the results of the evaluation helps us to go back to the drawing board to figure out how do we innovate, how do we be more creative, how do we improve the quality of the detection scripts, and then bring this, and also the application policies, what have you. So when we actually have the solution go out to a new environment from the get-go, you're already set up with a standardized configuration that's proved and tested and really is backed up with a lot of use cases that gives you the maximum protection from day one. So that's something that we also look at very carefully when we go through these evaluation studies.
Yes,
I
it's
would,
true because yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
no,
Sorry.
sorry. I was gonna say I would love your input. Would love to collaborate and figure out like the concept that will be useful for telemetry.
Yeah, because also, I mean, we published a blog on Monday this week, sorry, about configuration and the importance of configuration, the auditing configuration when you do your pen test, which is similar. You know, it's about evaluation at the end of the day that can compromise the results of your pen test. And one of the key things that we were discussing also with the team when we were writing this blog and the threat intelligence team is also the rise of configuration specialists, new jobs that in the future probably will change as well the workforce of the cybersecurity vendors. What's your view on that, Lex?
I'm actually not too familiar with the new jobs coming out because I like my job and
And
I want to keep it.
it's it's coming from the US mostly. I mean, this is a trend that is quite silent, but is
Yeah.
growing,
Yeah.
and that's yeah.
I can see it being a use case for a separate job just because changing a tool to figure out new detection logic is a lot on the person, especially maintaining the original concept, right? That's something that with the attack framework being so large and massive, I can see that being a use case. So I can understand why it's there.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
just want to add to it, Kat. It is ever-growing, in-demand role, I would say. Just like how AI came to life, right, in a more commercial way. You have a lot of new jobs in AI now, and I think from a cybersecurity, to me, I look at cybersecurity as if there's a business ever in this planet, you definitely need cybersecurity. It's a given. There's no questions on that. It's not nice to have. It's now become a core element to protect your organization and your assets. And jobs like this in a configuration specialist is very, very specific, super highly expertised role that is focused on how do we really ensure we are setting you up the right configuration based on the use case, given the environment, given the variables, and looking at the volume of workloads that's coming in. I think that's the kind of aspects a specialist will know that, an expert will know that. And again, going back to what I said earlier, telemetry fuels that information of creativity and innovation that creates that standards and continuing to raise the baseline.
Okay, great. I lost a little bit of connection because there was one question from someone who was wondering how to, can you see my screen? How to understand on the meta side what is shown here. So maybe I think it's the techniques. Lex, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this screen is looking at the protections test of the evaluations round.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the structure of how the evaluations is for enterprise round, it's 4 days. The first 2 days is going over the scenarios pretty much blind. You don't know what techniques or behaviors are going to be there. You don't know what sequence anything is going to be executed in. It's very much a black box blind side test, even though we give the techniques and scope document, which shows you what can be in the test, and we give you a hint to what the adversary we're going to emulate when we reduce put out the overview. The protections test is a look into not only just detecting or alerting on the behaviors, but looking at how can you prevent that behavior from moving forward. And typically we break down the emulation plan into subsets. And this round we went a little bit different where it was not the same as the first 2 days or the first 3 scenarios, but it's a different scenario in its entirety. And we did more of a micro style protections test this round. With the micro, it's more of a few behavioral techniques in the test instead of breaking out a whole scenario into mini tests. This is so that we can focus on into the technique that we really want to test and see if you can protect against it. So on that website, you will see the different techniques that we chose for the protection test, as well as if the vendor blocked or did not block that test or that behavior within that test itself. So this one breaks it out by tactic, but if you go, I think you should be able to click around into the bars. So if you click either a blue bar or a yellow bar, it will give you a little bit more information.
Yeah.
Actually, click it.
I click on it.
Yep, click on it.
I do.
Do it again.
Yeah, or I try this one. Don't know.
Okay, so we'll figure that piece out later. But if once you click into it, you should be able to see the actual techniques that were in each of the tactics that were chosen for the protections test. The hover box is just the percentage when you look at the whole scope of the tactic. So in discovery, we had 63 results for the discovery tactic across the cohort or across all of the vendors. And it's just the how did they do within that discovery tactic itself.
Okay, great.
Yep.
We are getting to the end of our webinar, which I think was so valuable. Thank you so much, Lex, for being with us today, and Megs for giving us all the insights. Obviously, you may have some questions that you may have later on. Please do not hesitate to reach out to our teams. Our team is there to answer all your questions and run one-to-one meetings. I want to thank really very much you, Lex, for making yourself available on such a short notice, because this again was organized just to give clarity of what MITRE is, why a vendor should participate in, and what results matter. And I think a campaign on what results matter should be happening in marketing or communication, instead of making a wave of false misinterpretation that can harm the evaluation itself.
Yep. I'm happy to be here. Closing note for me would be whatever the results say, it's what's important to you in your organization. We do not do a ranking. We don't do 100% coverage. We never try to push that agenda coming from the attack evaluation team or coming from MITRE itself. And so just ultimately look at the results, look at what each vendor is doing, look at why they either detected or protected against it, look at the screenshots, look at the detection criteria of what the emulation plan was saying, and then pretty much come up with your own conclusion. And that's it. Happy to be here, happy to help.
Thanks, Lex.
Thank you so much, Lex, for the partnership, and it was fun, spending this time with you and talking about MITRE ATT&CK evaluations and constantly helping us to raise the cybersecurity maturity in an ever-changing landscape. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Awesome.
Have a good day or evening. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.